You're listening to Season 2 of By Shawneda, Holiness Series novel Weighing My Options, Chapter Julie Stretched. The sun peeked through a slight opening in the curtain. Today was supposed to be a relaxed day, until the next event for the reunion this evening. A smile stretched across her face. Not only did Briana want her to stay with her the rest of the trip until her husband arrived for the funeral, Toni said she could come to her room once Thomas arrived. An entire weekend without having to babysit her nieces, nephews, sister, brother, or dad. It would be back to normal the next week. She decided to enjoy it. Briana sat up with her hand in her head. Julie convinced her cousin to live a little and try the wine at the wine bar. It was complimentary. Briana emptied the bottle as they watched a movie. My head feels like someone put a vice grip around it and won't stop squeezing, Briana moaned. I told you not to drink all of that wine. Julie is the only fish in this group. You have never been a good drinker, Briana. Tony's voice floated up from the floor. Toni, why are you on the floor? Julie looked over her side of the bed. Because walking to my bed would have taken too long, so I pulled the pillows off the chair and conked out. Y'all talk a lot when you're liquored up, and I didn't want to be rude. Toni pushed herself into a sitting position. I'm hungry. I'll pull up the breakfast menu. Julie pulled the information up on the television. Briana sat up. I'm never drinking again. Toni laughed. Yeah, right. You said that before. Julie chuckled. I will remember that next time I'm about to peer pressure you into it. I'm going to go get cleaned up in the other bathroom, so order me a carafe of orange juice and the Hearty Man breakfast with a side of pancakes and some extra bacon. Toni grunted as she climbed off the floor, holding on to the bed. Briana swung her feet over the side of the bed. I want the same thing, but add waffles and cheese to my eggs. I don't want extra bacon. I want sausage. Julie nodded. Briana took her time getting out of the bed and made her way into the bathroom in the bedroom. Julie ordered room service. Briana walked back into the room and plopped down on the bed. We should be ashamed of ourselves for last night. Not me. I haven't had this much fun in years. Julie eased out of the bed. Her joints hurt a little more after she drank a lot. She shook her head and got back into bed. Toni is getting dressed. I'm going to go ahead unless you want to go first, Briana said. You got it. I need to go get my bags and break the news to Dad. Julie smiled. He'll be happy for me. He's been wanting me to reconnect with you guys for a while. Devon and Caitlin, not so much. They are so spoiled. And whose fault is that? Briana said. Don't answer. It was a rhetorical question. Julie tossed the pillow at her cousin's back as she scooted into the bathroom. Toni walked back into the room. I'm going to run down to my room. I'll be right back. Julie nodded. She laid down to wait to take a nap in an attempt to stop the headache trying to creep into the corners of her forehead. Knock, knock. Julie sat up in the bed. Briana emerged looking 100 times better than before. She went into the bathroom. She waved for Julie to stay put as she walked out of the bedroom into the living room area of the suite. Toni! Briana's voice carried back into the bedroom. I thought you were the food. Where is Julie? Toni's voice seemed close. Girl, get out of bed. The day is almost gone. Julie groaned. Toni may have claimed that she was a new person, but Julie wasn't buying it. The only difference between old Toni and the new chick was that the old Toni was slimmer and dated. Maybe if new Toni went back to church and went on a date, she'd find out old Toni wasn't gone at all. Leave me alone. I'm getting the rest of my beauty rest. Get up or I'm getting in the bed with you. Toni grinned. Julie knew that smile. It was what Toni used to do before jumping into bed on top of whoever refused to get out and bouncing on them until they surrendered. Fine. I'm up. The food should be here anyway. Whatever it takes. Toni turned around. Julie sat up. She hoped her body cooperated better when she climbed out of bed this time. Knock, knock. Hunger fueled Julie to move quicker despite the pain. She arrived in the room as Briana opened the door. A tall young man pushed a large cart into the room. It is so cool you're letting your family eat breakfast together in your suite. My family usually ends up at a breakfast buffet at our reunion. Let us know if there's anything else we can get for you. He looked at each woman. All of the good energy in the suite evaporated. Tony looked at Briana. Briana gave him $2. We'll put the cart outside. He smiled, nodded, and left. I think I just lost my appetite. Julie sat down at the table. Whatever. We're paying for this food, and I'm eating it. Toni lifted the covers from the plate until she found hers. She carried it over to the table. Briana followed suit. Julie thought about going downstairs instead to get another bottle of beer. She remembered that the bar didn't open until that evening. Food would have to be her comfort for now. The last platter on the cart had to be hers. It felt heavy in her hands. He had some nerve, Briana huffed. It isn't his fault we're fat, Bree. This is a lot of food. We didn't know that when we ordered it. Why don't we just enjoy it? We can save whatever we don't finish for later or trash it. It is not a big deal, Julie said. Then why are we sitting here acting like scolded children when he was paying us a compliment? Toni, at least you don't have that much to lose. You've never been big before. The weight is gonna just melt off of you, Briana said. Not really. The bigger you are, the quicker it comes off. The smaller you are, the slower it comes off. Simple math, really. Toni chewed on a piece of bacon. Okay then, Miss Fat Mathegician. Then let's do something about this. What can we all do about this weight together? Julie cut her pancake. Okay, let's make a bet. We can open an online account and put money into it every month. Whoever loses the highest percentage of their weight gets all the money in the account. Toni lifts a fork full of scrambled eggs to her lips. Briana's fork of cheesy eggs in air. Julie coughed. I can't afford to do that. Remember, I am a county employee. We will all commit to an amount we can afford and do that every month. You can afford something, Julie. Giving up all that alcohol will open up some funds for you to commit to the fund. Toni gave her cousin the side eye. All right, smarty pants. I'm going to enjoy taking all of your money. How are we going to track our progress? Who's going to weigh us and all of that? She rolled her eyes at Toni. We can agree to meet somewhere. That way we can look at the scale together. And what we do in between doesn't matter. It is who has lost the highest percentage of body fat that will be the deciding factor. Y'all wanted to do this. Skinny little waiter got y'all all riled up. I'm in. This is just the jumpstart I'll need, and I'll use the money for the nursery. Briana's eyes lit up. When do we start? We can go to a gym or a health food store somewhere and get our weights before we leave Atlanta, and then we can talk about it and stay in touch with the account details on book time. Toni said, I'm going to enjoy taking your money, and when I do, I'm going to pay for a membership to a wine club with reduced fat alcohol. Stuck her tongue out at Toni. Toni laughed. Whatever it takes. How long? Months should be enough time. We don't want to do it too fast. You know, slower is better. And we all have a lot of weight to lose, Briana said. Toni calculated how long it would take to lose enough weight to be back to her, unquote, pre-medicated life. Months would be just enough to do it. Yes, I'm loving that. Where are we going to meet to do the weigh-in? Why not back here? Julie picked up her carafe of orange. Toni shivered. Hated being in Atlanta. Everything the church put her screamed up at her from the concrete. It had to be the Holy Ghost that kept her sane being in Atlanta. Bad memories with her reason for moving to this city and running her life. A shame that one incident could taint what used to be the place she called home. Fine, Atlanta it is. Are we going to start an account, or do you want to use a website that already does this? Briana calculated how much she believed she could lose by this time next year. They don't have websites that do this. Julie laughed. They do. Briana nodded. We can use theirs as long as it doesn't cost too much, because then we don't have to go through the drama of trying to find an online account site that will let us all have access. The more I think about it, the more I think this could actually be fun. Toni smiled. You would think that. You're the only one who actually exercised before this. You'll be back down to normal easy. Your body is used to being skinny. Maybe the Toni you ate is still in there and has been praying for someone to come and rescue her. Julie laughed. I'm all for us going to get Julie's stuff so she can move in here until Thomas gets here on Monday. Then we can go down to the business center and set this all up before we go. Briana bubbled over with excitement. This was just the fuel she needed to be able to kickstart her weight loss. These two were always her favorite people to do projects with at Big Mama's church and school. And now they were together again, and this bet could help them stay in touch. She didn't know how much she missed them until she saw them this weekend. You're serious about this, aren't you? Julie said. Yes, Toni and Briana said in unison. Fine, I'll go find the CNG vitamin store or gym nearby where we can weigh ourselves before we leave. Julie sighed. You're sure about this? Are you sure, Julie? Briana knew her cousin struggled with her weight since her mom died in high school. No one wanted to see the old Julie Jules more than Briana did. Yeah, I've always enjoyed taking your money when we bet. Nothing will ever change that. Julie laughed. Briana shook her head. Julie had won many bets between them as children, but this wager carried a greater reward than a few dollars. No one wanted to admit or revisit all of the health issues they faced or their dead cousin. But Briana hadn't forgotten. This wager may have one person walk away with the money, but they all needed to win back their health or risk being the next tribute at a reunion before they turned 40. I hope you enjoyed Weighing My Options Chapter 8, written and read by Shawneda. Yes, that's me. So please tell your friends about the podcast and join us next week for Chapter 9.